Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about questions for the sake of questions. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, do you, when you interview software engineers, sometimes feel that the candidate is asking questions for the sake of asking questions? Mm, Sometimes, but usually I find that they are more they're more sorry that they don't have more questions to ask. Because, like, you might ask a candidate, I've asked them many times, do you have any questions for us? Usually it starts out the same way, right? You ask as the employer in this, or rather in this case it's not me who's applying for the job, I'm helping interview on behalf of the company, and so usually the company has a lot of questions that I should do an assessment basically. And so we ask them a bunch of questions, we talk, and then at the end of it we usually have a session or like some time where they get to ask questions of us, or at some point at the very least. And usually it's the normal stuff. They ask a few questions about how do you work, can you explain a little bit what type of like they might ask, do you do agile, can you tell me about the tech stack? Like these normal sorts of questions you would expect from someone who's sort of curious about the position. But I don't really find that often that they're trying to like fluff out the time, the session with like a lot of irrelevant questions, if that makes sense, or questions like they're just trying to push it, right? Uh, Usually they feel bad when they don't have more than maybe one or two, and in some cases they don't have any questions whatsoever. Which, as I like to tell people, I mean, I might be different here from other, like I don't know, because this is one of those value things, which is, as I've said to a few times, that's the difficulty about interviews. They're subjective, they're done by humans, which all have different values, and that's why I tell people who do interviews that you have to sort of understand that uh, the only thing that should be a red flag for you is that if you consistently fail like every single interview, that is a pattern. But if you fail like every other, like it's so difficult for you to say that yes, this was due to the fact that you're not good, or no, actually it was because of the interviewer being like unreasonable, etc., etc. Because guys, I've been in companies where if you have the right person, you get the job. If you have the wrong person, they're gonna crush you in the interview and like make do really weird things sometimes. That, I mean, I've sat in on meetings where I've asked a few questions and then the managers have asked questions, and the manager, I'm like, this guy is asking like these really, really ridiculously complicated, weird questions, and he's actually not a good communicator. And this is the guy that I'm working with. It's like you're why are you doing this? Like, why are you like an example would be we're interviewing a junior profile, right? And so I ask something basic about, say, CSS, or a little bit of JavaScript, or like if it's a backend developer, something a little bit about test-driven development or something like that. And based on the answer, you can hear very clearly that this is a person who is actually a little bit unsure even about these sort of basic concepts. And then the manager goes, could you explain to me, like, and then he goes like really into it with something super complicated, like well, I'm not going to go into examples and so forth, but like they like sort of immediately go deep dive, which scares the shit out of the candidate, and the candidate sort of feels bad. No, I don't know all that stuff. And I kind of go, why would you? It's like, would you go up to a toddler in a sandbox and ask about thermodynamics? It's like you should be able to make an assessment that this is probably not an appropriate level of questioning for someone who's sort of, without actually saying it outright, has communicated that this is like a level that is much, much more advanced, right? But the candidates themselves, they, as I said, they usually more apologize that they don't have enough questions, because you sort of have this, they sort of have this, Well, everybody does. It's an interview, so it sucks. But because you want to please the person, you want to get the job, you want to impress the other individual. And I keep telling people, guys, it's as long as it is usually in your best interest to not get into the game of how do I impress the most. I promise you, it's better for you. It doesn't sound that way, but it does help a lot. Because the worst thing that you can do is to try to figure out, let's say if you're interviewing with me, what I want to hear, because you don't know what I want to hear. And if you guess wrong, I will hear it. And even if you do guess right, then you don't factor in that I can tell if you actually know that stuff or not. And I can also tell if it's a prepared answer or not, if it's a genuine answer, which is a sort of a very obnoxious specialty of people who have emotional intelligence to a certain degree, where I can hear the difference between someone who walks the walk and who talks the talk. And I've done this observation many times when I've had candidates who have, like, I asked them about start the question by saying something like, could you please explain to me like what the testing pyramid is, or something like in testing, for example, and they go in and they basically just regurgitate all of the popular trend terms, all of the popular opinions, etc., etc. And then I just ask, yeah, but how do you feel about integration testing and mocking versus using a database, for example? Now I know that they have no way of like having a prepared answer for that, because the internet will not help them there, because it's a divided topic. Therefore they have to answer, and so the whole thing falls together, because they could only answer what they've read about the testing pyramid, for example. And so that's why I tell you guys, be genuine. It goes over really well. There is nothing as infectious as someone who is genuine in a conversation with another person. You can actually feel that this is a nice and like honest person, and shows enthusiasm for both answering and asking questions. But don't try to, as I've actually said this to candidates sometimes when they have been really nervous. Some of them have been like, I had the girl the other day who was she was a very junior profile. She felt really bad because she couldn't answer a lot of these, like, even we were trying to keep it really low level, but she was like really green. And you know, so she actually apologized, sorry, I'm so nervous and I don't know what to say, and etc. And I told her, don't worry, you're not going to get extra points for asking me questions. If you don't have any questions, it's okay, because like the whole point here is that I'm trying to just sort of figure out what have you been working with, what haven't you been working with. That's it. I'm not going to give you extra credit for asking me a bunch of questions that you yourself, because the questions that they are asking, like you, that's, I hope you understand that, guys. You can use those questions to sort of quote unquote impress someone, but it's usually better for you to actually ask questions that are relevant, because even like, you know, those questions are for you. And you should treat them as if they are for you, and sort of not think so much about whether they're impressive or not, because the thing that impresses the interviewer is not what questions do you ask usually. It's more about this holistic picture. Are you a genuine, seem like a skilled person, or like do you have the skills? Do you like seem to know what you're talking about? And do you have a positive attitude? Are you a pleasant time to talk to, etc., etc.? These, like, that holistic picture is the thing that we're trying to get at. You're not gonna, you know, be amazing in all of that and then just have someone at the end go, no, they didn't ask us about our salary, or like our I don't know, company policy on clothing or something, therefore we have to dismiss them. No company works that way. So what I want you to take away from this is that I do find usually that there are a lot of candidates who are trying to figure out how to impress the interviewer, which I don't think is a good idea. I think it's better for you to focus on your fundamentals, make sure that you know your technical stuff, that you know how to write software, and you know, sort of understand how things work, and then be genuine and transparent, and just actually show that you have a genuine interest in what you do. Showing enthusiasm and feeling like you're a transparent, genuine person when you talk to someone, or having that sensation from another person, is the strongest ways to make a connection with another human being. And then you add the skills on top of that, which I hope it goes without saying, is a big factor as well. And then ask questions that feel relevant to you. Don't try to use them to impress and so forth, because it's, as I said, it's usually not the way to go. The thing you're going for, if I may go so far, is you want, by the end of that interview, the person who did an interview with you to go, this person was I got a good feeling from this person, because it is a feeling, guys. It's always a feeling. I don't care how objective they claim to be. We have prepared questions and so forth, but at the end of the day, it's a gut feeling, and that's all that it is. There is, I've never seen anything else, and that is why it's so important for you to focus more on making a good impression overall than it is to figure out specific tricks, or these sort of get rich quick scheme types of things where you ask these magical questions and you will get the job. That's not how it works, guys. It's about tuning in to the individuals that you're talking to and leaving a good impression. That's what it's about. Have a great day.